Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, things going on in the world of movie news, some television, all types of stuff in entertainment. We got a number of things we're going to talk about here today. We're going to talk about the Jake Gyllenhaal stuff regarding Batman. We're going to talk a little bit of Equalizer 2. Where the hell is the marketing for it? What happens if Infinity War disappoints, and a whole bunch of other stuff more? But before we get to any of that stuff, let's go right off the top with this. Now, of course, the big movie in theaters right now is John Krasinski's A Quiet Place, and there are now reports coming out that John Krasinski has lined up to produce with Platinum Dunes, that's Michael Bay's company, to produce a new film called Life on Mars based on a spec script. Now, as of right now, there's been no word on whether or not Krasinski will actually direct it. He's not expected to star in it. Now, a lot of people don't realize that, yep, Michael Bay is one of the producers of A Quiet Place, which actually catches a lot of people completely by surprise. But apparently Platinum Dunes, Michael Bay's company, and John Krasinski have been looking for a new project to work on together. And apparently this Mars project is one that has caught their attention. Now, I expect we'll probably see that John Krasinski is going to attach himself as the director for the film, and whether it's this one, whether it's another one, I am so excited to see whatever John Krasinski is going to do next. I'm just so excited to see whatever he does next. I want to see, was this directing job he did on A Quiet Place a fluke, or is it showing us that this could be one of the next great directors? I'm really dying to see that. Also, right off the top, for those of you guys who are fans of martial arts films, and of course, more Western audiences will recognize Donnie Yen from Star Wars Rogue One, it's just been announced that Donnie Yen, who, of course, from Rogue One, is going to be playing a major role in the upcoming live-action Mulan movie for Disney. Now, apparently, the reports are saying that Donnie is going to be playing the lead character, that's Mulan. He's going to be playing the lead character's mentor in the film, and it's said to be a major role in the film. I'm just super excited that Western audiences are going to get exposed more and more to Donnie Yen, because I've been watching this guy for decades and he's just incredible. All right, now before we get into the main topics today, when you watch the John Campea Show, I want to make sure you guys are caught up to date on everything significant going on in the world of movie news, even if we don't have time to go in depth into all of them. So this is a little segment we call the Movie News Feed. First up, as most of us begin the final countdown to Avengers Infinity War finally hitting theaters on April 27th, one of the mysteries of the film has now officially been revealed: the official MPAA rating. According to reports, the MPAA has given Avengers Infinity War a PG-13 rating for intense sequences of sci-fi violence and action throughout, language, and some crude references. The PG-13 rating obviously comes as no surprise, but the part that some MCU fans are excited about was the extra added little warning of intense violence. Really, that could or could not mean anything, but with the amount of action we've already seen showcased in the trailers, it shouldn't surprise anyone. Next up, as many of you know, one of the new shows that will be debuting on the new Warner Bros. DC digital streaming service is Titans, based on the popular Teen Titans series. A few months ago, we got our first look at the Robin character, which, as you can see, looks just fantastic. And now, we have our first look at the characters of Beast Boy and Raven. As reported on Screen Rant, DC's digital streaming service will launch sometime in 2018 with the first season of Titans, which will feature 13 episodes. There is no exact date for its release yet, but with production well underway for the series, expect an announcement from DC soon. Next, as the debate surrounding Netflix original movies and if they should be eligible for Academy Awards rages on, another interesting new development has occurred. The Cannes Film Festival, one of the most celebrated festivals in the world, has passed new rules surrounding a film's eligibility for competition at the festival. The new rule bans any films without theatrical distribution in France from playing in competition. This obviously removes any Netflix movies from being eligible, although it would still allow for Netflix films to play at the festival out of competition. However, that's not good enough for Netflix, as they have decided to not have any of their original films participate in the festival this year. Netflix Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos said the following: "We want our films to be on fair ground with every other filmmaker. There's a risk in us going in this way and having our films and filmmakers treated disrespectfully disrespectfully at the festival. They've set the tone. I don't think it would be good for us to be there. The odd thing about this new rule at Cannes requiring films to already have distribution before playing at the festival is that most film festivals are specifically for films to find distribution. Look, there are valid points to be made here on both sides, but it is an odd situation to say the least. Next up, we all know that Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle was a runaway surprise smash hit, but I don't think many of us expected this interesting bit of news. With its theatrical run now finished, it's been reported that Jumanji is now the single highest grossing film domestically in the history of Sony Pictures. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the movie accomplished the milestone this week after narrowly passing the original Spider-Man, which grossed $403.7 million at the box office in 2002. The Jumanji reboot, released on December 20th, finished Tuesday with a domestic total of $403.71. Jumanji has earned $950.8 million globally to rank as the top grossing title in the studio's history for a wholly owned Sony title. Does anyone want to bet that Sony doesn't make a sequel? Anyone? Any takers? Next. According to Deadline, actors Liam Neeson and Leslie Manville have been cast in the upcoming romantic drama Normal People. The project is set to be pitched for sale to distributors at the upcoming Cannes Film Festival and is being heavily buzzed about since it features two meaty acting roles which have been flagged by those in the know as potential Oscar contenders. Normal People looks at the story of a long married couple, Joan and Tom, who have accumulated ease and deep tenderness in their relationship. But when Joan is unexpectedly diagnosed with breast cancer, the course of her treatment shines a light on their bond and exposes challenges arising from an uncertain future. And finally, actor Sacha Baron Cohen is set to star in a new Netflix limited series thriller called The Spy. According to NME, Sacha Baron Cohen will play Eli Cohen in the series, who was a real-life Israeli spy based in Syria in the early 1960s. Cohen lived undercover in Damascus and became chief advisor to the Minister of Defense there. He was sentenced to death in 1965 after Syrian counterintelligence authorities discovered who he really was. The series is scheduled to be a 6-episode series, which will make it Sacha Baron Cohen's biggest TV commitment since The Ali G Show. There's been no official word yet on when the show would be slated to air on Netflix. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. Some really interesting thing that the Cannes Film Festival thing is kind of fascinating to me. Like I said in the Movie News Feed, it's usually a lot of films go to film festivals to find distribution, to say that you got to already have distribution before you play here. Now, granted, Cannes is a very different kind of film festival. It's a bigger film festival, but it's going to be interesting to see that. And how about that Sony news? Jumanji is the highest grossing Sony film of all time. I mean, it kind of puts that in perspective a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, guys, with that stuff out of the way, let's get on to the main topics as submitted by you guys. How do you guys submit a topic or a question for the John Campea Show? It's really quite simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, let's get things going here with the first main topic. And the first main topic today comes to us from one of our Patreon supporters, John DiNicola, who writes, have you noticed The Equalizer 2, starring Denzel Washington, is set for release on July 20th, and yet there's no official poster, trailer, images, or anything released? Isn't that a bit strange? That's just over 3 months away, and yet nothing. Your thoughts? Well, what really makes this interesting is that Equalizer 2 was originally, way back when, was scheduled for a September 2017 release. Now, when they realized they weren't going to get into production on it nearly in time for that, they pushed it back a year to September of 2018. Then they moved it up to August, I think it was August 3rd. And then, just a month and a half ago, they moved it up even more from August into July. They're bringing it closer and closer and closer. And yet, we still have absolutely no marketing. Now, granted, the film is still 3 months away. And I think there's a couple of asterisks to put on here. Number one, we got to remember we are heading now into the home stretch of what is going to be the biggest film of the year. And that, of course, is Avengers: Infinity War. And I think there is some apprehension with some films to launch marketing campaigns significantly when there's a big swell of buzz for another film at the moment. So I don't know. I don't suspect that we should be worried about Equalizer. I don't think they're about to push it back because, like I said, it was just a month and a half ago that they actually moved the date up. So I don't see them pushing it back. I think this is probably just a strategic thing on their part. They want to make sure they don't, get their marketing and spend important, big marketing dollars on marketing that's just going to get lost in the wave of another film. So they're probably just holding off on that. And we'll see. I suspect shortly after Infinity War launches, you're going to see a slew of Equalizer 2 stuff. At that point, I think we will. So right now, I don't think there's anything to worry about. And by the way, I really like the first one. I like the first Equalizer more than most people, to be honest with you. So I think I might be alone in that. But I just ate up that first one. I thought the first one was great. Really excited about the second one. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from CC and More, who writes, playing devil's advocate here for a debate. I watch your show every day, and I'm not sure if you've actually discussed this, but what if Infinity War sucked? What are the potential consequences for the MCU if that actually happens? I, of course, have the utmost faith that this film will be awesome, even as a DC fan, and that I will love it. But what if? Thanks, and keep up the filthy. Well, we have kind of discussed this before a little bit, because a lot of people are asking, look, with all the hype, and it's natural, with all the hype and all the excitement and everybody expecting, manna falling from heaven with Infinity War, the question has been raised. What if? What if we walk in there and get really disappointed? What if we walk in there and, Thanos is as bad if I just noticed that Ray put tears coming out of Thanos' eyes. I don't know why I didn't notice that before when I was setting the show up. Anyway, what if it's bad? What if Thanos ends up being the next Steppenwolf and we all hate the way he looks and acts? And what if? What happens then? And my feelings of that, first of all, any film can suck. So don't fool yourself into thinking that there's no chance Infinity War could suck. Yeah, there is a chance. I don't believe it will suck. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited about it. But don't fool yourself into thinking that there's no chance it could be bad. Of course there's a chance it could be bad. Even Spielberg, the greatest filmmaker of all time, has had a bad film or two. Everybody has a bad day at the office, okay? It can happen. I don't expect it to happen, but it can happen. That out of the way. So what's the consequences then? What's the fallout for the MCU if that happens? And I'm going to tell you what I've always said about that. Nothing. No fallout, no consequences. Because here's the thing. Look at a series like the Transformers, right? The first film comes out pretty well received. And then they put out a bad one. And then they put out another bad one. And they put out another bad one. But people kept going back to see it. It wasn't finally until this last Transformers movie that you finally saw the bottom start to fall out and the box office take a big dip. Like a massive dip. Right? The thing is, with the MCU, they have so many movies in a row that everybody loved. It's not like they had one or two. They've got like 17 movies in a row that, generally speaking, have been positively received. Some of them best thing ever, some of them not so much. But for the most part, and look at the last couple films we're coming off of. Thor Ragnarok, beloved. Spider-Man Homecoming, beloved. Captain America Civil War, beloved. Doctor Strange, beloved. I mean, you're coming off of a long series of films. You have a long history of success here with the MCU. Massive history of success with the MCU. What happens if they hit one road bump? Nothing. Nothing. It'll be fine. Now, the conversation becomes more interesting. Let's say Avengers Infinity War comes out and it's bad, okay? I don't think it will be, but let's say it is. Then the conversation for the next MCU film becomes a little bit more interesting, because if we have one bad MCU film that people generally don't like in Infinity War, then we're going into Ant-Man. Then the question, what if Ant-Man is bad? Well, that conversation becomes a little bit more interesting, because now you'd be talking about two in a row that generally the audience didn't like and whatever. Then you're talking two in a row. That becomes a little bit more of an interesting conversation. But honestly, for me, right now, if Infinity War is bad, it's no big deal. It's one bump in the road. Yes, it's for a big, major, significant film, but it'd still be 1 out of 17 or 18 or 45 or however many films the MCU has now. So I really don't see any repercussions. I really don't see any major fallout. I think it'll just be, people will be disappointed. They'll brush it off because they know there's a long success history track record with the MCU, and the audience will keep coming out support. Once we get into 2 films in a row, maybe 3, that's a different conversation. But for now, I really don't see there being any kind of real fallout, just in case this movie's bad. All right, and we move on now to the final emailed in question today. And the final emailed in question today comes to us from another one of our Patreon supporters, Blake Carson, who writes, yesterday you talked about the new writer for the Batgirl movie. And also yesterday, Jake Gyllenhaal gave an emphatic no to if he will star in the Batman movie. So that I wouldn't be peddling false news, I watched the source video and there doesn't seem to be any room for misinterpretation. Does this cast even further doubt on the DCEU combined with the Batgirl news? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And for those of you who don't know what he's talking about with the Batgirl news, it's been announced that the Batgirl has hired a new writer here. So, there we go. I just want to make sure I get the name of this movie right because it's a terrible movie. And I just want to make sure I get the name of it right. I think it's Unforgettable is the name of the movie she just did. That was just awful. But anyway, so we've got this new writer for a Batgirl film they brought on. She's written the script for the Bumblebee movie. We haven't seen the Bumblebee movie, so we don't know if that's good or bad news. But I know the last feature film she wrote was a movie called Unforgettable. And that was awful. It was with Rosario Dawson and Katherine Heigl. And it was brutally bad. And the only other major motion picture this same writer wrote before that was one she did, I believe it was Naomi Watts' movie called Shut In. And that was even worse than Unforgettable. So we talked a little bit about the other day. It's like, are we happy that Batgirl seems to still being developed, or are we nervous because they've got the screenwriter from Shut In and Unforgettable doing it? And we haven't seen Bumblebee yet. Maybe Bumblebee will be great, and that changes the narrative. On the heels of that comes this Jake Gyllenhaal thing. Now, for those of you who weren't around yet or don't remember, a number of months ago, I let you guys know that Jake Gyllenhaal had been meeting with Matt Reeves to talk about the Batman role, and at the time, Gyllenhaal was Matt Reeves' first choice to do it. Now, I also warned you guys, he's going to meet with other people. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But he was Matt Reeves' first choice to do it. And that they had been meeting, and it was something they were considering doing. Gyllenhaal stayed completely quiet on the whole issue, understandably so, for months and months and months. Now, what has happened was, this little outlet did an interview with Jake Gyllenhaal the other day, and this is on video. And kind of in the middle of an interview talking about totally different things, out of nowhere, the interviewer, this woman asks Gyllenhaal, she goes, is Jake Gyllenhaal going to be in the next Batman? And Jake Gyllenhaal said, that's a very difficult question, but the answer is no. He didn't elaborate. They didn't go into it any further. Nothing like that. He just said, at this point, and remember, this is months after the fact, but said no. So, there's a couple of things here to take into consideration. The first thing to take in consideration is this, is that I was told a few weeks ago, not by a source, but by another film pundit, who I'm sure is going to run a story on this, but one of my friends who's another film pundit for another outlet, told me a few weeks ago that they had heard, or this isn't my source, that they had heard that Gyllenhaal had declined the role. And I mean, I wasn't told that by any of my sources or anything like that. I had another journalist tell me that. So I was like, okay, well, they heard that. And then I didn't hear anything about it for a couple more weeks. So I just kind of brushed it off my head. But then I saw this news yesterday. I'm like, damn it, he was right. So anyway, also, let's make this clear. We don't know what happened. First of all, it's not like Gyllenhaal left the project. Let's be clear. I'm already seeing some people writing Gyllenhaal leaves Batman. Gyllenhaal was never signed on to be Batman. So let's just be clear about that. Gyllenhaal did not leave Batman, all right? So he was never signed on in the first place. They never got to that stage or to that point. But it does raise the question, okay, then why didn't it happen? Okay, what caused it to not happen? Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind here. First of all, out of every 100, discussions and things of possibilities of things that could happen, 97 of them never come to pass. So it's important to keep that in mind. Yes, they were talking. Yes, they got to that stage, but just because they did, there's lots of times that it doesn't actually, they don't pull the trigger on it. It never gets signed, and that's fine. The other thing here to keep in mind, and this is what I was speculating about on the show the other day, for those of you guys who watch my show regularly, was that you've got to believe that a part of this decision by Jake Gyllenhaal has got to do with a couple things here. One, the status of the DCU currently. Two, and maybe even more importantly, he's seen the treatment Ben Affleck got from people. Like when Ben Affleck got announced as being Batman, I swear to God, there was like 4 people on the planet who were happy about it, and I was one of them. But everybody else, like the abuse he took, the savage beating he got, and then when Batman vs. Superman came out, the sad Affleck thing, like everybody jumped on that and the sad Affleck and all that kind of stuff. And I just got to believe that a part of that is he stepped back and said, is this really good for my career? Would becoming Batman be good for my career at this point? Because first of all, look at the status of the DC universe right now. Secondly, look at the abuse that Ben Affleck took. Is that something I want to put myself in? Now, there is a counter argument to be made there that, oh my God, though, if you were the actor to step into that situation, to step into that mess, and pull out a great movie, you would be hailed forever as a savior by the fans. I mean, so there is upside to there too, but also a lot of potential downside. There's another angle to look at in this too, though, is that, as I told you guys a few weeks ago, Matt Reeves was supposed to turn in to Warner Brothers a treatment of his Batman movie in like October. Might have been early November, late October, whatever. For argument's sake, let's just say October for now. He was supposed to turn in a treatment for this movie, like basically a little bit of a fleshed out outline. Back in October, he never did. Now, as of the last I heard, which is going back about a month ago, he still hadn't turned it in. Maybe he has now, but as of about a month ago, he still hadn't turned in a treatment, let alone a script. So this thing is really far behind where they wanted this thing to be by now. And there's good sides to that, like, hey, at least he's really taking his time. They're making sure. There's bad sides to that. It's throwing everybody's schedules off. So that huge kind of indecision, delay, whatever, that could also be playing into this. There's another option here that, let me be very clear on this, I'm speculating about. I don't have any insider information on this whatsoever. This is just me speculating about this. A third potential option, just purely on the basis of speculation, is that maybe this Matt Reeves Batman thing is off the rails. Maybe it's not happening now. And we just don't know about it yet. Again, that's just me speculating. I totally hope it does. I love Matt Reeves as a director. Everybody knows I wanted to see Ben Affleck direct Batman. Yes, I did. But if you couldn't have him, Matt Reeves is a great next choice. And I've been excited to see what he would do. But I mean, with everything going on and surrounding it, it's really interesting. It's going to be fascinating to see what really this all works out to be as we move forward. And maybe you'll hear more. But now the other thing, though, to keep in mind here is this. Jason Momoa denied forever that he was going to be Aquaman. No, I'm not. He denied that forever. Paul Rudd denied that he was going to be Ant-Man. We've seen this story unfold before. We've heard this song sung many times before of actors denying that they're going to be in a role, and it turns out they do. So we still have to hold on to the possibility that Jake Gyllenhaal may indeed be Batman at some point. Just because in one interview he said no, maybe he still will. Maybe that's just a denial. Don't know that. We have nothing to back that up with, but it is something to keep in mind because we've seen this dance before, right? So a lot of interesting thing here surrounding. Look, I'll go on record. I would love Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal is one of those actors. You know me, hey, as long as this is a good actor, I'm fine. Gyllenhaal is one of the world's best. And I would be all for Gyllenhaal playing Batman. I really would. I would be completely for it. It would be great. Many other actors would be great too, but Gyllenhaal is definitely one of those guys, and I would be super happy if they announced tomorrow he was being Batman. But if they get somebody else, I'm totally fine with that too. Okay, I want to know what you guys think. Jump down to the comments section, leave your thoughts and all that. All right, with all that stuff out of the way, we've got about 10 minutes left here, so let's go over to some of your guys' live questions. You guys have been firing in live questions here already, and we get the thing started here with James Belanco, who writes, "Hey John, greetings from the UK and best Wesley Snipes performance. And thanks for the show every day. You are the best." Well, thank you so much, James. Look, you got to talk about, there are some iconic things, like you're talking about, Blade. He's got some other ones too. To me, it's always going to be White Men Can't Jump. I'm not necessarily saying that's his best movie, but I think that's his best performance. And he's had some really good performances. But when I think of Wesley Snipes' best performances, I go to White Men Can't Jump. I just loved him in that. I thought he was great. So what about you guys? What are some other ones that you really like of his? Jump down to the comment section. Let me know. Kyle B writes, in my opinion, Arrow is the best show in the Arrowverse. Everything else is too corny for me. Also, did you know John Hamm is doing the voiceovers in Legion this season? He's doing the voiceovers in Legion. Or are you talking about like the FX show Legion? I didn't know he was doing any voiceovers in that. That's interesting to know. Arrow isn't corny? Mr. Terrific? Hey, you, just some dude who wears a hockey mask and you got a gun. You're a superhero. Captain Buckles? Arrow isn't corny? I mean, it's great that that's your favorite show in the CW universe. It used to be mine too, for sure. And there's definitely an argument to be made for that, but I'll disagree with you on it, but that's cool that that's your favorite. It's all subjective. Ben Rayner writes, did you like The Flash this week? Did you notice a few cameos? I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched it. Flash used to be like one of my first must-watch shows as soon as it hits Hulu. But now I'm going to other... When Flash is available there... sorry, it's not on Hulu anymore. Now it's on the CW app. But when Flash is there, I go to other shows first. Like, I definitely go to Black Lightning first. And Black Lightning this week was awesome. And I've started watching Into the Badlands... And I'm just staying up on other shows first. Like, I'm still going to watch this week's episode of Flash, but Flash has been losing me a little bit this season, to be honest with you. So I'm not racing to watch it the moment it pops up on the CW app. I'm just not racing to watch it like I did. Get it? I made a pun. Racing to watch it. Anyway. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet. I hope it's good. I will watch it. I'll probably watch it sometime today. But no, I haven't seen it yet. I'll keep my eyes open for those cameos you're mentioning, though. Dakota Barber writes, new Cap Infinity War hot toy statue just shown. Looks good. Hold on a second. I happen to have it here because somebody tweeted this picture to me. Let me bring it in here. So I have it on my desktop. Oh, hell yeah, that looks good. Oh, hell yes, that looks good. Look at that. Oh, that thing is pretty. Oh my God, I want that figure. Now, apparently, though, this figure isn't even going to be shipped. Like, you can pre-order it now, but it's not going to be available till, like, December, I think. But, yeah, that's the new Hot Toy Captain America for Infinity War, and that looks just awesome. I want it so bad, but thank goodness it's not available right now. Because if I could buy it and it would ship to me tomorrow, I'd be spending money that I would have to have a serious conversation with Ann about later and explain to her why I spent that much money. So thank goodness I don't have to have that conversation. But it's not going to be available till December. But yeah, man, that thing looks awesome. Okay. Curtis Lopez writes, you said the other day you'll start watching Gravity Falls. Hope you enjoy it. It's awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, the reality is, I've put it on my list, but the reality is it's probably a couple of months away from me being able to even start it because I got too many other things on the list right now. But I will get around to it at some point. But again, it's probably a couple of months away because I just got so much to get caught up on. Nick Rosenblue writes, my wife, twin girls, and I met you in Atlanta. Keep up I remember you. That was actually one of my favorite fan event experiences ever, was meeting your family and your two little girls who were just awesome. I just loved them. Any word on a live action Stretch Armstrong? AMC and you reviewed an animated storyboard. Yeah, a couple years ago, they were talking heavily about doing a Stretch Armstrong movie. They even had Taylor Lautner from Twilight fame attached to star in it as Stretch Armstrong. And they some animatics for a potential film slipped out, blah, blah. As far as I know, the movie project's dead. As far as I know, it never got going, it died, and we're not going to see it. But who knows? At some point, someday, it could get revived, but to the best of my knowledge, the project got canned. Let's see. Curtis Lopez writes, I know you have millions of shows to catch up on. I certainly do. But also check out the last Airbender cartoon. I think it's right up your alley. You know, everybody that knows me tells me that's a show I would love. Like, not just that they think it's a good show, but they think it's a show I would love. And I just never gotten around to it. But yeah, Last Airbender is definitely one I have not only people online telling me, but like friends of mine telling me I need to check this show out. I will get around to it at some point. R. Olson writes, what happened to Journey to the Center of the Earth? Really entertaining and fun with good cinematography. Love the movie when I was young. Your thoughts? Well, they made a sequel. If I'm thinking of the right, they made the sequel with The Rock, right? I hope I'm thinking of the right franchise. Brendan Fraser starred in the original one. And then there was some kind of falling out. The Rock comes in and does the sequel. And I think there were plans for a Journey to the Center of the Earth 3. I'm almost positive there were plans for a Journey to the Center of the Earth 3. But as far as I know, it just kind of stalled. And now The Rock has 75 other movies he's making. And I've heard nothing about a new one. So let's keep our ears open. We'll see what happens. Sharon Aurora writes, round 1 NBA playoff predictions, please. Okay. So, I mean, I don't see anybody beating the Rockets this year. I don't see anybody beating the Rockets this year. I think they are built to beat Golden State in a playoff series. I don't see Toronto or Cleveland, whichever, whether it's Toronto or Cleveland. Boston, let's face it, with Kyrie going down, Boston's not getting out of the East. Cleveland just won the last 2 games in a row against Toronto, but still that was regular season. I think Toronto is built to beat Cleveland. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whichever of those two, whether it's Toronto or Cleveland, comes out of the East. I don't think they can beat Houston either. Which is really funny because last year I said Cleveland has no chance of beating Golden State, and clearly they didn't. I think if Cleveland gets by Toronto, who is a powerhouse this year, everybody overlooks the Raptors this year. They are scary good. But anyway, if Cleveland can get by Toronto, and if Golden State can get by Houston, I think the Cavs beat the Warriors this year. I really do. I think the Cavs are built, ever since they did that big roster change, I think they can do it. But what I really see happening is I see Toronto getting out of the East, I see Houston getting out of the West, and I see Houston handling Toronto pretty handily. I also see Houston beating the Cavs. But if some way Golden State gets by Houston, I think Golden State beats Toronto, but I don't think Golden State beats Cleveland. So it's a whole jarbled mess right now. We'll just have to see how it all kind of unfolds. Jorge Sosa writes, Thor is my favorite Avenger. I wish they had him do more. Also pre-ordered the Infinity War Thor hot toy, which also looks amazing, by the way. Too bad I have to wait a year. Bring on the filthy. Yeah, there's a long wait to get those advanced pre-order Infinity War hot toys, man. But the Thor one looks great. He's got the lightning thing on him and all that kind of stuff too. He's got the new hammer. It looks amazing. Cal Titus writes, Hey, John, I just want to say thanks for all you do. I was paralyzed in a car accident last year. Oh, man, that's horrible. And watching you has helped and inspired me to create my own movie my own movie review channel. Thanks for everything. Dude, thank you so much for sharing that. Because, one of the things that I want to be able to do, and this is why I put up videos to help people get their own thing started, is I want to encourage more and more people to get involved in the online film fan community. Not just as viewers, but also as writers, as podcasters, as YouTubers. Because, granted, only 1 out of every million people are going to be able to actually make a living at it. I get that. But to do it for the love of it. And I love that you have done that. I love that you've put your channel together. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you for sharing that with me, man. That I'm not going to lie to you. That nothing else today is probably going to make me feel better than that. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. Cal also follows up with, been watching you since late 2015 and followed you to your channel. Also, got the mic and camera you suggested. You're the best. So that's right, because I've got this video that's 4 years old now, so I need to update it. But this video called How to Get Started in YouTubing, Podcasting, and Blogging. And it's a 2-hour video, and I do some equipment recommendations. So I'm glad that was able to help you out, Cal. Good. Let's see. Mark Team I writes, do you know more information about the Witcher series? No. Now, what Mark Team is talking about here is that they made an announcement that Netflix was going to be doing a Witcher series based on the popular video game series. I have heard nothing else about it. Other than they're doing it, I have heard nothing else about it. Do me a favor, guys. If you've heard more about this, do me a favor, jump into the comments, leave what you've heard, but also put in any links to anything that you know that gives some more information on that, because I think there's a lot of us that would love to know more. Let's see, Dominic Chilochowiski writes, salutations from Montreal, bienvenue. Have you seen the Canadian buddy cop movie, Bon Cop, Bad Cop? As a matter of fact, I have. Great Angelo Franco, Canadian humor, merci, bonne journée. I got a big kick out of that movie. Here's an interesting thing about that movie. One of the lead dudes in that movie came out in 2006 or something like that. And basically, it's like Red Heat. You know how Red Heat was like Jim Belushi, James Belushi and Arnold Schwarzenegger, one American cop, one Russian cop have to work together. It's kind of like that, where you've got you have to understand Canadian social political environments, but you've got one cop from Ontario, one cop from Quebec, and they got to solve this thing. But anyway, so the one actor in it, I believe his name is Colm Fiore or something I might be mispronouncing it, Colm Fiore or something like that. He's one of the leads of that movie. You can just look at this. And Bon Cop, Bad Cop is really funny. You should check it out. But anyway, that actor was in the MCU. He was King Laufey in Thor. He was the king of the Frost Giants. So there's a little bit of interesting trivia for you there on that movie. But yeah, it's really. I believe they also made a sequel to Bon Cop, Bad Cop, but I don't think I ever saw it. So there you go. Sayantin Bizwaz writes, do you get to keep all the money from Super Chats? I want to support the channel, but I don't want to pay Google any more money than they already have. Well, no, I don't get to keep all of the Super Chat money, unfortunately, but Super Chats have been great for the channel. It guarantees you get your question answered. It's a way of supporting the channel. I'm able to bring on guys between that and the Patreon supporters. That's why I'm able to have guys like Ray and Jonathan and give them jobs and able to make the channel better and stuff like that. But no, I don't keep all of it. Google does keep a cut of that. Understandably so. I mean, they provide this service, so I get it. I understand. So they do keep a cut, but I think I get the majority of it. But yeah, Google does definitely keep a cut of it. And it's understandable because they provide the service, they make it all happen, they handle the transactions, blah, blah, blah. So I bear them no ill will for keeping a chunk of it. I get it. And because they provide me this free service to use the channel. So I get it. But thank you for asking the question, man. Let's see. N8V Pride 616 writes, should Duke Nukem be marketed much like Deadpool? Honestly, no. For those of you who don't know, there's talks about them doing a Duke Nukem film. As a matter of fact, I believe back in January, word came out that John Cena was in negotiations to play the role of Duke Nukem. Don't know if that ever actually got signed, but he was at least in negotiations. Maybe he signed it, maybe he didn't. If they do it, no, you cannot market it like Deadpool does. Because you are already running the risk of just looking like you're trying to copy Deadpool. And if they come across like they're just trying to imitate Deadpool, that'll be bad. You just market it a little bit more traditionally, but as a hardcore action, great humor film. But you do it in a more traditional route, I think, and I think that could be effective for it. If you try to do things like what Deadpool's doing, I think it may come off as desperate to the audience. I think it might turn the audience off if they did it. Who knows? Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't. Let's see. Just got a couple more minutes here. Orange Hand writes, do you remember what your theater's reaction was when Vision lifted Mjolnir? Yep, I do. Everybody's like, "Whoa!" It was a great moment in that movie, too. When he lifts that hammer in Ultron, when he's holding the hammer, they look over and he's got the hammer. The reaction was great. Almost as great as when Captain America tried to lift a hammer and he actually nudged it. It actually nudged. Everybody's in the theater was like, woo! I mean, that was great too. And of course, the look on Thor's face when it happens was great. But yeah, the reaction when Vision had that hammer in his hand was really, really funny. Jerome Lim writes, just saw Black Dynamite. Love Black Dynamite. After watching it, the hot girl at my gym asked me out, got a raise for work, and my car no longer leaks oil. Thank you, John Campea. I have been recommending Black Dynamite forever. Michael Jai White's masterpiece. If you have not seen Black Dynamite, set some time aside tonight or tomorrow night, have a buddy or two or your girlfriend or whatever come over, sit down and watch Black Dynamite because it is a hoot. It is so entertaining. So that's one of my favorite comments. The hot girl at the gym asked me out, got a raise from work, my car no longer leaks oil. Perfect. All right, 2 more questions, then we're going to have to wrap it. And by the way, guys, if you have sent in a live question and I've run out of time to get to it, don't worry. Tomorrow morning's goes up bright and early, 5 a.m. Tomorrow morning's companion video will have your question in it. Any questions I don't have time to get around to, I will copy all of them, put them in the document for tomorrow morning's companion video, and your question will get answered. All right, but with that out of the way, let's take 2 more here. Metal Gear Kieran writes, I don't think I've ever thanked you for providing myself and others with such an enjoyable show and also generating a community that has more discussion than arguments. Love your work and keep up the filthy. Oh, thank you so much, Metal. I really appreciate that. You know, that is really more of a testament to the community we have here, more than me. We have such a great community. I get a kick every day because, you know, I've seen live movie shows and other movie shows where I jump in the chat board and like even before a live stream starts, the bickering starts and the fighting starts and the trolling starts and the insults start. And it's just nightmarish. Me, when I come in, like I set everything up, go out, eat my breakfast, all that kind of stuff, and I come back in about 5 minutes before the show starts. And I looked at the chat board's already been super active, and it's everybody just greeting each other and having some really good discussions and disagreements, but they're disagreements for fun movie debate, not for trolling or arguing or name calling. And I just can't believe how, I'll use the word blessed, how blessed I am to have joining me in this community, this amazing group of people who make it a fun experience to be a film fan. And I'm really glad you recognize that too, Metal Gear. And thank you so much for being a viewer, and thank you for your support as well as the channel very, very much. And thank you to everybody who's a part of our community here, who makes being a film fan a more fun experience for everybody. So thank you to you guys. And let's see. KW Garrett writes, did you see HBO's Under the Giant doc released on April 10th? I still haven't seen it. I've been drooling to watch this documentary. Dropped on HBO the other day. Still haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it, but you bet your ass within the next few days I will be watching it. I'm super excited about it. And one last one here. Raymond Virata writes, if Gyllenhaal doesn't want it, I'm Batman. I'm sure there's going to be some people who would. I mean, I think some of the bigger name Hollywood actors are going to be apprehensive, to be honest with you. Just because of what we already talked about, the drama, the mistreatment of Ben Affleck, like all this kind of stuff is going to be a really hard sell for some of the more established actors. Some young, hungry actors may be willing to take that chance, totally, but and there's going to be a lot of them willing to line up. Clearly like you, Raymond. Or hell, I'll be Batman. Whatever. Like, I'll just go filthy. I'll just say that's all I'll do. I'll just keep, it'll be like Groot. I'll be like the Groot Batman. I'll just keep saying filthy. Filthy. Batman, where's the Joker? Filthy. And we'll see how that all goes. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today, for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of it. Listen, don't forget, guys, if you haven't done so already, click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber to my YouTube channel, and make sure you click that little bell button as well to make sure you get notified of all the new videos that we have going up. Also, guys, listen, if you're a fan of this programming and you like coming and watching the shows, do me a favor, just go over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There's a link in the description of this video below. Just go there and get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show on the air, and also the benefits there are of being a Patreon supporter. Benefits like audio-only versions of the podcast and behind-the-scenes videos, the exclusive Facebook group for our amazing film fan community. Go check that out, and then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I'm just glad you're here being a film fan with me. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Don't forget, Open Mic is back on today at 2 p.m. where we do just an hour long of open questions. Make sure you come back and join us then. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.